Hello Internet, it's me Josh, the aging gamer. So, it's that time of year again. It's WrestleMania season. And it's usually around this time of year that I like to do a retro review based off a wrestling game. So I was pondering, what game do I do this year? Well, I kind of wanted to do something a little bit different. Maybe that's a little too different. The game I'm thinking about today is actually one I've wanted to do for a while just because it's so quirky and just so different. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about WWF Betrayal for the Game Boy Color. So what happens when you mix a WWF game with a good old beat 'em up, but with a very small budget? Why, you get WWF Betrayal. Betrayal was developed by none other than WayForward and was released on the Game Boy Color in August of 2001. This release was kind of an awkward one though, as Nintendo had just released the Game Boy Advance a couple of months prior. So games like Super Mario Bros. Advance, Castlevania Circle of the Moon, F-Zero Maximum Velocity, and even Fire Pro Wrestling were new and exciting, and this past-gen title was supposed to compete. It was dead on arrival. And you know what? Let's go ahead and take a look at that box art too. You got two of WWF's biggest stars of that era, Triple H and The Rock. So far so good, but you just can't escape focusing on Stephanie McMahon right here in the middle. What is this face even? Did she hear an inappropriate joke? Was it more than just a fart? Did it go in the wrong hole? Why would they choose this particular picture of Stephanie McMahon to try and sell a video game? Well, maybe it worked because I have the game. So there's 4 playable wrestlers here. You got The Game, Triple H, the American Badass, The Undertaker, the People's Champion, The Rock, and lastly, the Texas Rattlesnake, Stone Cold Steve Austin. That is a pretty good selection of WWF's top wrestlers of that time period. Not including Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, Kane, and even Mick Foley, who was still under contract at this time. Anyway, the story to this game revolves around the 4 playable characters. Whichever character you pick, you'll of course play through the game as. The other 3 will then appear as bosses. This causes some of the dialogue to change a bit, but overall you'll get the exact same playthrough. Hell, it doesn't even really matter which wrestler you pick because they all play exactly the same. As for this playthrough, I'll go ahead and choose Stone Cold Steve Austin. So the game starts. I'm about to beat Triple H for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship when all of a fucking sudden a trash can hits me. I lose the match, but who hit me? It was The Rock? I mean, yeah, sure, that looks enough like him. The Rock and Triple H run off and an angry Steve Austin starts beating the shit out of referees. Oh shit. So it's of course the D-pad to move. Double tapping a direction will cause you to run, press A to punch, and press B to kick. Punching has more range, but kicking does more damage. You also have this meter here. It'll fill as you do more damage to your opponents. If you get hit at any point, the meter goes back to 0. But if you get it filled all the way up, you can hit an enemy with a finish, which in Steve Austin's case is the Stone Cold Stunner. You'll also be able to hit enemies with a finisher if the enemy is in a groggy state. This is actually my favorite thing about the game, just running around, beating up people and hitting them with that Stone Cold Stunner. That's awesome. It's almost like an episode of Raw. As we enter the next room, we find Vince McMahon. Stephanie McMahon, Vince McMahon's daughter, has been captured and Vince needs our help. He even promises another shot at the World Championship. Sounds good enough to me. Let's go! What's up with that walk? He looks like an angry toddler. In this first stage, we're in the backstage area. There's referees and security guards to fight. You'll find some weapons to use, like this crate you can toss. You can even take the security guard's baton and start beating people over their heads. Whap, whap, whap. Make it to the end and we'll start level 2. the parking garage. Watch out for steam, and we'll fight off engineers, for some reason, and police officers. They look more like they might actually be strippers. Very shortly, we'll arrive in this area where you can beat up the car. You'll find a battery? Or is that supposed to be soda? Either way, that and the apple will refill your life a bit. Beat up some more innocent people that are attacking you for whatever reason, and you'll eventually get this cutscene. The Rock throws the captured Stephanie into a limo and tells Undertaker to get out of here. We then get to fight The Rock. Despite us not fighting in the ring at all, The Rock is still gonna walk around in his underwear? Whatever, Rocky, I'm still gonna pull out a can of whoop-ass on ya. And actually, he ends up hitting me with a spine buster and I lose. I just got my Rudy Poo candy ass kicked! And pretty quickly, too. Goddamn! The Rock is tough, he just kills me so damn quickly, and I end up getting a game over. I continue, of course, and I think I'll try the strategy of hitting, then running away. It works! I finish him off with a Lou Thez press instead of a stunner for some reason, but whatever, I win! The next level, we're on the streets, and we're beating up women! We also climb up this building and we fight some thugs. Then we move on to the next stage, the subway. Of course we're gonna whoop some ass, and we enter the subway train where we fight some more bad guys. I get towards the end of this section, but I get killed by a guy shooting bullets out of his briefcase. Whoa, hold up, disqualification right here. This is supposed to be a wrestling-based game. This is supposed to be like hand-to-hand combat with an occasional lead pipe or something like that. Not shooting people and murdering them. That crosses the line. I go back and beat this fool up, and then we reach The Undertaker. Try me, Austin. I'll make you famous. I gotta say, I hate The Undertaker's sprite work here. I don't recall Undertaker ever wearing a blue bandana and a blue mini vest. It doesn't help either that he doesn't have any tattoos. I understand you can only do so much with the Game Boy graphics, but maybe they should have put him in his trench coat look instead. But anyway, the good old do a running attack and run away technique works again. Undertaker reveals that Stephanie was taken to Titan Towers. So, we'll head there next. Now we're about to start level 5, which is also the last level. I've only been playing this game for about 20 minutes now. That's a bit disappointing. So we'll beat up more security guards and we'll bust open some water coolers for health and whatnot. We'll reach an elevator section with more gangster dudes who just kind of look like they're dancing. We also eventually fight this office woman who starts busting out these crazy flips and kicks. We do a lot of the same fights here for quite a while until we get towards the end. The Rock comes out to fight us again, but he's a lot weaker than before, thankfully. This is also the only part of the game where we get cameos from other wrestlers. We see pictures of Trish Stratus, Chyna, and Lita. That's cool, I suppose. We next enter Vince McMahon's office. We see Stephanie with Triple H, which if you don't know, those two were actually married in real life. So what does this mean? Stephanie was never actually kidnapped. It was just Vince pulling a fast one on us. But that doesn't make any sense. What did Vince have to do with any of this? The Rock already cost me the championship at the beginning of the game. What did Vince have to gain by actually giving me another title shot? Did they have to throw in some kind of twist just so they can call this game WWF Betrayal? Well, maybe it's like every story in the real wrestling promotions. It's built around wrestling logic. So, I'm just thinking too hard on this. Vince McMahon sends out The Undertaker. We kick his ass again, and then we go to the rooftop. Triple H and Stephanie are trying to escape, but I ain't letting that happen. Now we're doing our final boss fight, and to be honest, there's nothing special here. It feels just like the fight we had with The Rock and Undertaker earlier. We win! And we get the championship too! And that's it. The game is over. Well, that was quick. Huh. But that ending's got me thinking. Triple H and Stephanie McMahon are married in real life, so what happens when you play the game as Triple H? Well, apparently Stephanie really does get captured. By Vince, no less. Vince is mad because Triple H and Stephanie walk around like they own the place, and that just chaps Vince's ass. Then you fight Steve Austin to not only save your wife, but win the championship too. So that's WWF Betrayal. Overall, how's the game? There's a part of me that loves this game just because of my love of wrestling, and also because it's a wrestling beat-em-up. A side-scrolling beat-em-up featuring WWF wrestlers sounds fantastic on paper, but this game ends up being just unremarkable. The gameplay is very basic and straightforward. The levels are short, most of the enemies are identical, and it's overall nothing we haven't seen in previous beat-em-up games. It's like they took the very basic beat-em-up tropes and made that a game. It's not bad, it's just not exciting, which is very disappointing because again, this game sounds like it should be great. I could go on and say things like there should have been more moves added to the game to add variety, or if they had access to WWF's IP, why didn't they add more wrestlers or enemies as sub-bosses? But I won't because this game feels like a very obvious low-budget rush-to-the-store game. It plays fine, but if this was released maybe 10 years prior, it would have stood out. Which, man, imagine this game, but the 4 characters are Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, Ric Flair, and Ultimate Warrior. That would have been amazing for its time if it were released in 1991. But this, being released right after the Game Boy Advance released, it feels like WayForward might have said, fuck it, we got behind, just throw the game out there and let's see what we can get for it. But these are just my opinions. What do you guys think? What do you think of WWF Betrayal? Like it? Hate it? You ever even heard of it? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you all have yourself a fucking fantastic weekend. Take care!